From your local election headquarters, the question of whether or not Oklahoma should move away from its closed primary election system is a step closer to getting in front of you, the voters, to decide. Today, the state Supreme Court unanimously said moving to an open primary system would not violate the Constitution. News 4's Spencer Humphrey is here with what this means for petition efforts to get the question on the ballot for you. Spencer?
Yeah, essentially the state Supreme Court said today if Oklahoma voters decide they want to switch to a system that would allow people to vote in a party's primary election regardless of whether they're actually a member of that party, that would be legal to do, giving the people petitioning for that to happen the green light to start gathering signatures.
I think the evidence bears it out, you naturally get a better outcome.
That was Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt on Flashpoint a year ago, advocating for a change to Oklahoma's system of closed partisan primary elections, which he said causes candidates to pander to the extremes rather than appeal to the majority.
You're appealing, especially today, to a narrower and narrower slice of the electorate.
He wanted to see Oklahoma's primary system switch to something colloquially called a jungle primary. In that system, no longer would each party run its own primary ballot only open to registered party members. Instead, candidates from every party would all appear together on one single ballot with their party affiliation listed by their name. Every voter would get to vote for one of them. Then the top two vote getters, regardless of their party, would face off in the general election. Registered independent voter Tony Stobbe liked the idea of switching too.
The primaries decide 80-90% of election outcomes, which means I'm disenfranchised.
It's why last year he started an initiative petition effort to get State Question 836 on ballots, which if passed by voters would change Oklahoma to that jungle primary system. But Oklahoma Republican Party leaders were not fans.
I do think that that in general this group is pushing this for that reason, though, that they want to move the party to the left by doing this, at least moderate it.
The state Republican Party sued, arguing to the state Supreme Court an open primary system like the one proposed in State Question 836 would violate people's First Amendment rights. In the midst of all of that, this year we told you Oklahoma lawmakers passed a bill that restricts how many signatures a state question petition can get from people in the state's two most populated counties, making it much harder to get the number of signatures required to get a question on the ballot. But in an 8-0 ruling Tuesday, the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled State Question 836 would not violate the Constitution, and supporters can start gathering signatures.
And they cleared the hurdles and gave a green light for it to proceed.
And when they start gathering signatures, the court ruled they will not have to follow those new rules restricting the number of signatures by county, because that wasn't the law when supporters first filed the initiative.
And that's a win, because those rules are much less restrictive and much more fair.
Oklahoma Republican Party leaders not available to talk on camera Tuesday, but in a statement, Party Chair Charity Lynch told us, "The Oklahoma Republican Party will continue to fight open primaries. We cannot uphold our morals if those that do not treasure our values are allowed to influence the representatives chosen for our party."
Meanwhile, those Yes on 836 supporters tell me while not having to abide by those new restrictions on signatures will make things a bit easier for them, they're confident they can still get the needed 174,000 signatures regardless of which set of rules they have to follow. They expect to start gathering signatures by October or November.